Now, let's move to the Project Management module. This module has 6 menus. The first is the Sources of Funds menu. Here, it is possible to register all projects' sources of funds. We already registered IFAD and the Malawian government sources, and to add a new source, just click on the Add button. Here you can input name, select the type of the source, for example, if it's an IFAD source, and its nature, if it is an international, national, or private sector source of fund. For this exercise, we'll insert the name here, we'll select the source, and finally, we'll point out its nature. Then, just need to click on Save, and the source is registered on the system. On the Project Management module, we can also register disbursement categories. Here, we can register a category as well as the budget allocated for their specific category. And to do that, we just need to click on the Add button. Here you can input the category number, its name, and the currency used on its budget. After saving, the system will open a new form where you can define the category's budget, selecting a percentage of funding for each of the sources registered on the last menu. To register a new source for that category, click on the Add button. Here, we'll select one of the sources already registered. For this example, let's suppose that this category is 100% financed by IFAD. Therefore, we input 100 here. Here, we can type its budget. And finally, we can add a start date. The start date means the date when this budget became available for that project. From this date, the system will use that particular budget as the main budget for that category. Since this is our first budget, let's insert the start date of the project, which is 1st of January 2020. If the project started on this date, this should be the first date of the budget. This other field is dedicated to inform if this budget is still in effect. In case it is still in effect, we just have to click on the Yes button. If this budget has changed or is not in use anymore, we can click on No. This will open a new box where you can inform when this budget was not available anymore, the end date of that specific budget. This action will allow us to register a new budget for that category. For this exercise, we'll say that the budget is still in effect and click on Save. Now let's go back to the same source of fund and update it as if it was no longer in effect. For that, we should click on its description, and now we should update the still in effect source and not the budget value. We should click on No and input the date when it became unavailable. We should then save, and by doing this, the system will remove that date from our current listing. However, it is possible to visualize it by clicking on the History button There you can see that same budget we have registered and updated. That means that the program already had that budget from that source of funding for that specific category. Now we should proceed to register a new budget for that category. We should follow the same path as before, now informing a new date. In this case, we'll consider it a year after the implementation of the first budget. And finally, we should inform that this budget is the main budget still in effect by clicking on yes and then save. So we just register the new on effect budget for that specific category. On the PM module, we can also register indicators. To do that, let's move to the Indicators menu. And to register a new indicator, we just have to click on the Add button. On this registration form, you should inform the description of that indicator, its code, who's responsible for that indicator, the indicator type between performance, result, or impact. If this indicator is connected to one of IFAD's main indicators, like COSOP indicators, for example. And for this example, let's say it is linked to a COSOP indicator. So we should select on the list below. Since we linked our new indicator to a COSOP indicator, the system will automatically fill its nature and its unit of measurement based on the information of that same COSOP indicator. That means that every indicator connected to that COSOP indicator will have the same nature and the same unit of measurement. Finally, we should inform the indicator final goal, how frequently we want to measure it, and start and end date of measurement. Then we just need to click on save and the indicator will be registered. Now let's move to the project's work breakdown structure. For that, we should access the WBS menu on the project management module. Here we can see each component, subcomponent, actions, and activities of that specific project. To register a new component, click on the Add button. Here we should inform the new component number, name, results expected for that specific component, its assumptions, and the means of verification for that component. To register it, we just need to click on the Save button. Moving on, we should add a new subcomponent. To do that, we should click on the plus icon at the side of the component name. A new registration form should pop up, very similar to the one before, and we should inform information such as name, means of verification, etc. Then we just need to save, and the new subcomponent will be registered on the system. Now, to register a new action to that subcomponent, we should click on the plus icon next to the subcomponent name. The form should pop up, and then we just need to inform the number for this action and the name of the action, and then click on the Save button. And finally, we reach the last level of the WBS. And to register a new activity, we should click on the plus icon next to the action name. A new form will appear with a bit more information. Here should register a code for that activity, its name, the budget category related to that activity, its subcategory, if it's available, types of expenditure, the currency used under budget for that activity, the expected initial and final date of that activity, we should also inform its nature, and how much will cost to execute that activity. Then we just need to click on the Save button and the new activity will be registered on Data.IFAD. Here we can also see that the date used to register this new activity was automatically applied to the other levels of the WBS. So the system will use the earliest date to calculate the start of a component and the latest date between its subcategories to calculate its end date. This simply means that the system will automatically calculate the component schedule based on the subcategories you register on the WBS menu of Data.IFAD. Besides that, the system will also calculate the budget needed for that component based on the same logic, from activity to action to subcomponent, and finally to the component total budget. And this is how we register a WBS on Data.IFAD. This information will be very useful and important to register the project's AWPB next. On the PM module, we can also register a budget for each component of the specific program. Here, the system will show every single component previously registered on the WBS menu. On this screen, we'll register a budget for each of those components. The status will keep showing incomplete until we finish registering every single information on that specific budget. To begin registering a new budget, just click on the Add button right next to the component's name. Here we'll inform the currency for that budget, the source it will be linked to, the percentage for that specific source, as well as its total amount, and the start date of this budget. Here, the system will work using the same logic used on the disbursement categories, for example. Since this will be the first budget on this program, let's stick with our fictional start dates of 1st of January 2020. And finally, we should inform if the budget is still on effect. If the answer is affirmative, we should just click yes. If the budget is no longer available, we should click no and inform an end date. For that component, we just registered 80% of funding coming from IFAD. To finish its registration, you should now inform the last 20%. Once again, we should fill the blanks of the registration form with the information relative to that specific budget. And after saving, the new component budget will have 100%. And after performing that action, the system will understand this component registration as complete. The last menu on the PM module is the AWPB. On that menu, we'll register project's AWPB information. To begin, we should click on the Add button. On that form, we should inform the year of that AWPB, the currency used on its budget, the date the document was created, the date of IFAD's approval, and a US dollar exchange rate for that AWPB. After saving, the system will open new forms that will allow us to register AWPB's activities and upload documentations for that AWPB. To register a new activity, just click on the Add button, and the system should open this registration form where we can select the activities based on the ones we registered on the WBS menu. The selection process begins with the component until we reach the activities level. Here we should inform how much we plan to spend on every month of this AWPB financial year. If we're not planning anything for that month specifically, we can leave it as 0. After informing the values, we just need to click on Save, and the new activity will be registered on Data.IFAD. It is also possible to register activities through an Excel spreadsheet. The system will register every activity on that spreadsheet at once, but for that we need to use a template file available on Data.IFAD. After downloading it, we can start registering any number of activities. This is the template spreadsheet, where you should inform which activities we want to upload. For that exercise, we'll register the activity 1.1.1.1 with that specific budget for each month of that WPB year. Now we should move back to the system and proceed with the upload process. That way the system will register every activity present on that spreadsheet. We can also add documents for that same WPB. Here you should inform the description for that document and select which file we want to upload. We should also link indicators to that WPB. For that, you just have to move to this indicator tab right next to the WPB registration. And to link a new indicator for that specific WPB, should go to the Add button, select the indicator type, then we can move to the indicator itself. The system will automatically load its unit of measurement, and here you should inform the goal expected for this year's WPB. After saving it, the indicator will be linked to this WPB. Finally, it is possible to export the WPB in a PDF format. For that, we just need to click on the Print PDF button, and the system will generate a report like that with all the WPB's information. This first page will have a consolidated view by category and component. The second will have a table organized by type of budget and component. The third page will show a list of indicators linked to that WPB as well as its goals, and finally a detailed list of every activity registered on that WPB.